بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وبعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الحدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد, brothers, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Allah Azza wa Jal commands in Surah Baqarah, He says that in Ayah 183, He says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبُ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِنَا لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That Allah Azza wa Jal calls out to those who say they believe and those who do believe. To the believers He says, I have prescribed something for you. I have made a prescription for you that I did for people before you as well. The people who came before you also had the same prescription, that you fast. And its purpose is that you may attain taqwa. So I like to do a musabalah, something like basically an assessment type of arrangement for ourselves. That from now we're preparing for Ramadan to arrive. This is blessed month when it does arrive, and we will assess ourselves based on what we plan from now till Ramadan begins, how we maintain that plan throughout the month of Ramadan, and then at the end of the month when it concludes and Ramadan is gone past us, then we assess. We have a system of assessment that did we attain taqwa. A Ramadan that is successful means that one is blessed, one receives the mercy of Allah, one is forgiven of all his sins, and one is granted Firdaus or paradise or Al-Jannah. He will be saved from the fire. So these successes are very important to believers. This is the whole purpose of our life, to try to attain this success, and it would be good to make an assessment of this month of Ramadan, that at the end of it, did we attain taqwa? And if we attain taqwa through this month of Ramadan, through the fasting, then it is highly likely that we had a successful Ramadan. And it's a good way to know, did I have a successful Ramadan? Maybe I was forgiven for my sins, and a lot of us have been carrying heavy baggage from years for some of us, and for some just last year, for some just last week. We committed a major crime and injustice against ourselves, and it is a good time in this blessed month, an opportunity that every Muslim is given to now draw near to Allah Azza wa Jal and increase the spirituality and gain the abundant rewards that I mentioned a moment ago. So let's just take a moment and reflect. What's the first thing we want to do through the month of Ramadan? We hope to achieve. We want to draw near to Allah Azza wa Jal. It's important to keep that in mind throughout the rest of this reminder, okay? Because, you know, it's always after 15 minutes of really listening to a lecture or listening to someone remind us of Allah Azza wa Jal, it takes a little bit of time for the heart to finally engage and for the mind to finally settle on those tracks. And eventually, somewhere in there, we will start to feel some emotions. Whereas rarely you will see one or two people, the moment we begin, Inna alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inu, their heart starts to melt and they start to feel the emotions immediately. And this is because that person is very close to Allah Azza wa Jal. And the rest of us are quite distant from Allah Azza wa Jal. And the reason why we have become distant from Him is because we've had shaitan in our case, and he's been working on our habits on a daily basis, and he's causing us to bicker on little things, especially since I came to this country. Allahu Akbar. You know, just today I had to just advise someone and say, subhanallah, if there was a piece of gum on the table to argue about, you would argue it. And this is the level of bickering that's happening with youth and Muslims today. So those little things will tarnish the heart and cause black spots in the heart and cause us to stray. You've made a promise to someone, you broke it, no big deal. They didn't say anything to you, but little do you realize that put a black spot on the heart. And that pushed you away from Allah. You actually did lose, you just didn't realize. You know, and someone may have cheated someone and the cheating wasn't made aware of, or someone didn't realize, or somehow you felt you got away with your crimes, but little do such people realize they distance from Allah. Allah pushes them away. So though they are still the same person, you wouldn't know you're pushed away from Allah Azza wa Jal, but you are, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pushed you away from Himself. Allah only draws near those who deserve to be near, or those who beg to be near, or those who make efforts to be near. So seeking nearness to Allah through Ramadan is special, to try to get close again. So the beginning of Ramadan, every single Muslim should immediately realize, I have strayed away from Allah Azza wa Jal. And every slave should make this intention and say to Allah, oh Allah, please bring me closer to you again. Whether I'm deserving of it or not, whether I do the right things or not, Ya Allah, don't let me stray from you, bring me close. You have no friend, no mother, no father. You have no one that would care about you and sincerely love you for you, how Allah Azza wa Jal does. And Allah loves the slave 70 times more than the love of even a mother, your own mother. So therefore, that close relationship you have with your mother, if you don't have a closer relationship than that with your Lord, then you have strayed, haven't you? So Ramadan is a great time to try to bring yourself close again and say, oh Allah, let me be near you. Let me be close to you. Allow me to. And it is a blessing, i.e. it is by His permission. If He doesn't give you permission, you cannot get close to Him on your own. A slave cannot say, today I'm going to go get close to Allah. You cannot. If Allah Azza wa Jal does not grant you that permission to get near Him, you cannot get near Him in your heart. And the second after that is that this will increase your spirituality in Ramadan. And the third is to attain those abundant rewards I mentioned. And fasting during this month is one of the 5 pillars of Islam as well. So it is so important. Fasting is so beneficial to the slave's soul and the slave's heart that Allah Azza wa Jal has made it one of the 5 main pillars of this deen. It is something that is like saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, to say I declare, to the salah 5 times a day, which is the only thing that can take one out of Islam, and the zakat, to feed the poor, etc. Fasting is one of the 5, and then the hajj after. So this is a great time, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Islam is built upon 5 pillars, testifying there is none except Allah, and Muhammad is His messenger, performing the salat, paying the zakat, making the pilgrimage to the hajj, and fasting in the month of Ramadan. And this Sahih Bukhari wal Muslim. And Ramadan is also the season of offering a lot of good deeds and gaining more rewards through them. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah 185, the month of Ramadan in which was revealed the Quran, a guidance for mankind, and clear proofs of that guidance, and the criterion of right and wrong. And whoever of you is present, let him fast the month. And whoever of you is sick or on a journey or traveling on those certain number of days, Allah desire for you ease, so that you make it up. He desires for you not hardship, and He desires that you should complete that period, and that you should magnify Allah for having guided you. And that peradventure, whenever these things happen, whether you're ill in the month of Ramadan, or a sister may be expecting, or a person may be traveling, that even in every situation you might be grateful. And that last part of the ayah, Allahu Akbar, shukr, gratitude, is defined by the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And shukr, do you know what it is? How do you define gratitude? Everything in Islam is defined by an action. So what action defines gratitude? It is the same action that defines worship.
Dua. Making dua?
No. Ta'ah. Obedience. So the best gratitude you can give Allah Azza wa Jal is to obey Him. This is shukr. The essence of gratitude is to obey. If one is not obeying Allah in other things, and in this thing, oh ya Allah, I'm so grateful to you, you're not grateful. You cannot be grateful in this while disobeying in that. So the things may be completely unrelated, and this is shaitan's trick to separate every aspect of the deen. But to Allah Azza wa Jal, ibadah is ibadah, no matter where it is. Whether it is obeying this deed, or making dua over here, or being thankful for something over here. Ultimately, it is all obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. And maybe Ramadan will help us attain that taqwa. See, taqwa is awareness. Already you may feel a bit uplifted, because already you may now realize, okay, I need to obey a little bit more then, because I want to thank Allah for this and that. So already you have gained a little bit of taqwa. Taqwa is not automatically just being afraid, in awe, in fear. Taqwa is being aware. Taqwa is being conscious. Taqwa is having the insaniyat, the aql, to think, hang on, this makes sense. I should do this and I shouldn't do that. So Allah Azza wa Jal says in this verse in the Quran, Surah Baqarah, that Ramadan was revealed, in Ramadan was revealed the Quran. I know a lot of reverts who take Shahada. When I meet them and I speak to them and they take Shahada with us, one of my favorite things to mention is Jabal Nur, the story in the Mountain of Light, where Jibreel first came to the Prophet ﷺ. See, most just imagine, as Muslims, we take it for granted. We imagine a beautiful light, we imagine a pretty situation, we imagine a really spiritual, uplifting, sweet time. By Allah, Allahu Akbar, no one would wish for that to happen to them. Except that unless you knew this was prophethood, and afterwards comes good, and afterwards comes success. Unless you knew that for a definite, you would not want that situation. Because the way the Prophet ﷺ described it was utter devastation. The way Rasulullah described that moment was utter panic and pain. When that light grew brighter, and he had gone to the mountain many times, and he had looked into the stars and thought, he couldn't say Allah, because Allah had not introduced himself. All he could say was whoever, whatever. All he could say was, I know you're there. I know there's something more. I need you to show me. I want that. And then it came. And then he thought, whoa, what did I ask for? Because at that moment, when Jibreel came to him, he could not have a human being thinking, oh, this is a pretty light, some kind of a comic book or something nice. I may be dreaming. This may be something I'm hallucinating. Maybe I picked up something off the ground and ate it, and it put me in this mood. I saw things glowing. Jibreel picked him up and squeezed him so tight, letting him know, you realize this is real? Are you sleeping? Are you dreaming? Is this real? Yeah, that's real. And he held them against the wall. And if you go up to that area of Jabal Nur, it's a very small opening. It's a very small space. And he held them there and he said, Iqra. That's all he said to him. Read. And he said, I can't read. So then he picked him up again a second time and squeezed him even more and said, Iqra. He said, read. And he said, I can't read. And this continued. And on a third note, he squeezed him so tight, the Prophet ﷺ said, I almost felt like my life was going to be squeezed out of me. He felt like I might just die now. Because he was so squeezed so tight. And then he held him against the wall and released him and said, read. And then the Prophet thought, out of that pain, this is real, this is going to hurt, this might kill me. It only makes sense not to say, I can't read again. So he said, what do you want me to read? And he said, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who created man. And who creates. Read in the name of your Lord who creates. And that revelation of those verses when they were revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, from that moment on, Rasulullah ﷺ, that was it. A big massive burden. Now he knows. This is what I asked for. Now he knows. This is now going to carry on. More is going to come. And then I'm going to have to deliver it. And then I'm going to have to convince the people that I wanted to leave. And I went to a mountain to get away from them because of how they are, etc., so on and so forth. So when you hear these verses in the Quran, and Ramadan was revealed, in Ramadan was revealed the Quran, a believer's heart should feel melted immediately when you hear that line. A believer who believes in Allah, his heart should move when he hears that line, because he realizes what all happened. When Allah makes reference to the Quran being revealed, we should feel